Office of Economic Opportunity, and it's wonderful to see so many smiley faces here on the second week of the legislative session. That's why we decided to do it this week and not the last. This is a wonderful occasion for the state of Utah. This is a historic partnership between the state of Utah, between Beta Technologies and 47G Aerospace and Defense. The purpose of us gathering this morning is to be able to sign a historic memorandum of understanding between 47G and between Beta with the goal of elevating electric flight here in the state. Before we begin, however, I would like to recognize many of our guests who are with us today. Thank you to legislators who are here with us, senators and representatives who are taking time out of your very busy schedules to join us. Thank you, Governor Cox, for being here and taking time and making this a priority. When 47G and GoEO started working together on air mobility, the governor said this is a very important issue for him, and he tasked 47G with leading out on this effort in partnership with the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. We'd also like to recognize many of our guests from Beta who are here with us today, including Kyle Clark, the president and CEO. We'll hear from him shortly. Also would like to recognize Aleda Best from the FAA, and thank you for being here. This agreement represents a significant step toward bringing electric aircraft and charging stations to our state, expanding mobility options for all Utahns. By advancing air transportation systems, we are laying the foundation for reduced commute times, improved access across communities, and cleaner air through sustainable solutions. And I like to brag, it's my job, that we have the best economy in the United States. And what's going to keep us strong for years to come. And that's looking around the corner for the next 5 years, the next 10 years. And what do we see? We see electrification of aircraft. And so excited to celebrate this momentous occasion today. With that, I would like to turn the time over to Governor Cox. Following his remarks, he does have another commitment with the legislature and will need to leave. But please join me in welcoming Governor Spencer Cox.
Ryan, ladies and gentlemen, it's great to be here with you today. This is a good day for Utah, a great day for Beta and for 47G. I have to go back a little bit about, gosh, I guess it's been almost 10 years ago. I remember sitting down with members of UDOT. Carlos was there, the executive director of UDOT, and we're having a conversation about the future of transportation in Utah and what that future would look like. And he said, well, we can't keep building roads sideways. We will continue to invest in mass transit options, but we have to start thinking about going vertical. And I kind of chuckled. I'm like, sure, yeah. And he's like, no, I'm serious. Like we need to start investing now in the opportunities for us to go vertical. And that's when I got serious about advanced air mobility and what the future of that looks like, starting with cargo and eventually moving to people. And so we started working with the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. Of course, 47G came about and started having conversations with people in the industry, and here we are with Beta, an incredible company from Vermont who is doing a lot of their work in Utah. You're going to hear more about that in a second. I want to congratulate them on the incredible technological advancements that they've been able to make, the work that's happening with the FAA. We appreciate those certifications that are happening and certifications that will be coming soon to open up a new era in air mobility. In my State of the State speech, I talked a lot about building for the next generation, about what that looks like. How we used to be really good at this stuff back in the 40s and 50s and 60s, and how we've crippled ourselves when it comes to innovation and building in our country, and how we needed to change that mindset. How lucky we are to live in a state that still believes in building. As I talked with Kyle this morning, we had that conversation. The stuff they're doing is the stuff that hasn't been done for 60 or 70 years, and it's happening now, and it's incredible that it's happening right here in Utah. Now, we have an incredible opportunity coming up in 2034 to welcome the world to Utah as the Olympics make their return. We can't wait. We're very excited about that. But over these next, I keep saying 10 years, but I guess it's 9 years. It'll be 9 years in February. Over the next 9 years, we're going to see a lot of changes, technological changes in this country and the world. And when we welcome the world here, I can't wait to show them our advanced air mobility opportunities. I truly believe that when we get there, we'll be transporting people vertically, which will make it easier for us to get from point A to point B. We'll be able to do it more efficiently. We'll be able to save money. We'll be able to do it incredibly safely, and we won't have to keep building roads wider and wider, which I couldn't be more excited about. So the future is bright for Utah. The future is bright because of companies like Beta who are investing and doing things the right way, and we're so excited to get that plane out here, to get it to get it flying, and to start transporting the goods that we need to get from point A to point B, and to do so in a way that builds lots of different companies besides just Beta. So congratulations on everybody who's been involved. Keep up the good work, and we look forward to flying with you soon. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Governor Cox. Appreciate your remarks and your support of this initiative. Next, we'll hear from Alita Best, Deputy Regional Administrator for the Federal Aviation Administration, Northwest Mountain Region. Following her remarks, Kyle Clark, CEO of Beta Technologies, and Aaron Starks, President and CEO of 47G, will address us. We will then proceed with signing a memorandum of understanding, followed by a brief question and answer session with Alita, Aaron, Kyle, and myself. Please join me in welcoming Alita Best.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Ryan. On behalf of the Federal Aviation Administration, I would like to thank you for providing me the opportunity to be a part of this event. Today's Memorandum of Understanding between Beta Technologies and the state of Utah is an example of industry and state government cooperation. Working together, you're going to help advance a new ecosystem that offers a new way of transporting cargo and passengers. A recent study conducted by Deloitte and the Aerospace Industries Association estimates the AAM market in the United States to reach approximately $115 billion by 2035. This is equivalent to 30% of the present U.S. commercial air transportation market. Excuse me. It is an exciting time, and I congratulate Beta and the state of Utah on your new relationship. Advanced air mobility is not new to the FAA. We have been tracking and working closely with the industry's monumental undertakings to make AAM a reality. The FAA continues to evaluate infrastructure, cybersecurity, and data requirements, as well as the effects of noise and environmental conditions, to support initial AAM operations. A few months ago, we published a final rule that we consider the last step to FAA integrating AAM safety into the aerospace. Our regulations now address the new powered lift type of aircraft, the newest type of aircraft category since the 1940s, with flexibility to address the diversity of innovative technology. Excuse me. We use a safety-first, data-driven, process-oriented, and methodical approach to certify new aircraft to ensure the safest aviation system in the world. The FAA is engaging with companies like Beta Technologies to ensure AAM aircraft are safely integrated into the national aerospace system. Again, thank you and congratulations.
You stole my punchline. Look, it's absolutely awesome to be here, and obviously want to thank the governor's office, people at 47G, everybody in Utah, and our suppliers in Utah. The governor hinted at it. We have. I was just looking on my mass fraction calculator of the airplane. 28% of our aircraft by mass, and about half by value comes from Utah. Now, the good thing is we want things that are light in aerospace. We want the mass down, and you make high-value products. It's a fascinating industry, wonderful people out here. And in Vermont, I think that we reflect a lot of the same types of values and thinking. So Beta, my favorite subject to talk about, I'll give you a little bit of background on it. Beta was something, it was a dream I had. It was actually my senior thesis project about 22 years ago in college. And it had a little different flavor on it and kept like advancing and pushing, and in 2017 finally got the opportunity to start designing commercial aircraft for advanced air mobility. And we've taken a very different approach within Beta, where we've focused on the core enabling technologies: the electric motors, super high reliability power electronics, the integration of energy storage, and a new configuration of aircraft that exploits the benefit of these new technologies while respecting the detriments. And then we look for commercial entry points that make a ton of sense. For us, the aircraft is fundamentally a cost savings tool. It costs about half to move a package a mile than it does with a turbine or a recip engine aircraft. And that's after you account for the pilot, the insurance, the airframe, all of the energy that goes into it, and of course the capital asset that you're moving things with. That is key for economic development, in my opinion, to use technology to drive economy. And it starts for us with moving packages, moving medical supplies, moving things for the military, then moving passengers. That aircraft is really small on the table there, but it's actually about twice the size of most of the other AAM players. You can put 3 or 4 pallets of stuff in it. You can put 6 to 8 people in it, and we're flying it every day out in Vermont. And we're bringing one out here very, very shortly. So we're really excited to get out here, start connecting the airports together. There's a lot of pieces that go into that. The charging infrastructure is one of them, a super reliable, simple charging infrastructure that can be used across multimodal transportation, trucks, motorcycles, package delivery vans, all the way up to airplanes. And at Beta, we have the only certified electric charger that can go and charge airplanes all the way down to trucks, motorcycles, and package delivery vans. And that's a technological play of creating a wide voltage range on the output while keeping the currents very high for fast charging to drive the economies. And I think you start to sense a theme that we're building a foundational technology. It is an entirely new field of aerospace. And what's super exciting to me is seeing the state of Utah, stepping up, seeing this trend coming. You mentioned the first new license since the 40s. That's amazing to me. And I'm lucky enough actually to be one of 2 pilots in the world has flown full transitions electric on eVTOL aircraft. And it's a fascinating feeling, and I'm excited for all of you to feel it. And I'll just describe it for 1 second. You take off like a helicopter, and there's a whooshing sound. It's not a beating sound, because all 4 of those propellers are turning at different speeds. So it's a whoosh, and then you swim into the air, you turn that rear propeller on, you accelerate for about 30 seconds, and then you shut it down, and everything goes silent. And as a pilot, I fly a lot of different types of airplanes. It's kind of an awkward feeling. You're like, uh-oh, all that noise was keeping me in the air. Now what's keeping me in the air? The wing's keeping you in the air. And then you fly to where you're going, and the other propeller, which makes no noise in the engine, has a little bit of a propeller hum, is 22 feet behind you. And you have this beautiful glass canopy in front of you. Look at this view out here in Utah. It's going to be awesome flying out here. And then you get to where you're going, and in the last 30 seconds, instead of landing on the runway, you make a runway in the sky. You turn the top deck on, those rotors on the top, and you come in, you hover, and you set the thing down. So you don't even need to go to an airport. That's the VTOL. But in order to get there, we've created a CTOL, a conventional takeoff and landing aircraft that's all electric. So you get the middle portion of that flight, and we get to connect the airports in Utah before we go to this. It's a pragmatic, thoughtful approach, I think, in both market and in technology adoption, driving to a really safe integration of the future of aerospace. So I'm sure, Lexi, I missed a lot of the notes you put in here. I just got into the moment, and I just want to say thank you, Aaron, for inviting us. We're thrilled to work with everybody here, and it's just great to be here, and we'll be back a lot.
You know, 2.5 years ago, we sat around a table and we talked about this amazing industry that we get to support: aerospace, defense, cybersecurity, space exploration. And we said, there's not a cooler industry in the state of Utah and certainly around the world. And unlike any other point in our world's history, we have more innovation and adoption taking place in this industry that will revolutionize and change the way we live. It's all happening right now. There is a lot of momentum. We set out to create a brand to adequately represent the innovation taking place in this industry. And we ultimately decided on 47G. Well, why 47G? Well, we settled the state in 1847. We love our pioneer heritage. It's contributed to creating the greatest, most diverse economy in the entire country. But in the early 1950s, 1952, Colonel John Stapp hooked himself to a rocket motor and went 46.2 Gs. That happened on the border of northern Arizona and Utah, 652 miles an hour. The original footage of that is on our website. We said with our brand, we wanted to go where no man had gone before, 47 Gs, while paying homage to our pioneer ancestors. Today, with this MOU signing, we are going where no other state has gone before, to the top of the list in air mobility. We are going to electrify airports. We're going to bring the community together. There will be workforce development opportunities, legislative opportunities that will create policy reform and a regulatory sandbox where companies like Beta Technologies can come and innovate and grow their technologies. This is an exciting and a very historic moment that we all get to share together. Now, success has many fathers. And we could not have done this without really important and influential people in the state. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the governor's office. It is wonderful to live in a state and do business in a state where you don't have to face bureaucracy, where the private sector can lead out, where we can innovate. Governor Cox is a great champion of ideas, and he has cleared the path in a lot of ways. I'd also like to thank Ann Milner, former president of Weber State University and a great legislator here in the state. She has done a great job, not only just helping the organization ideate and navigate the regulatory framework that we operate in, but she got on a plane and came to Vermont with us, walked the factory floor. That is important. It's important that we show up as a state. I'd like to thank Jerry Stevenson as well for his support, and Wayne Harper for grandfathering legislation that's kicked off the advanced air mobility effort here in the state. For Matt Moss, our Director of Aeronautics, who every trip to Vermont, now too, and every flight with Beta here in the state has been there. I spent time in a King Air with Matt at the helm flying and fell for what felt like 30 seconds at 21,000 feet and scared me to death. But I was grateful that Matt was there at the helm, and I'm grateful that he's at the helm of the Aeronautics Department here. And Paul Dameron, the manager as well of the Department of Aeronautics. We have a great team. I'm sending an invitation to the state today. If it's advanced air mobility, or if it's the reality of a spaceport, or if it's any other initiative facing the state, we have to show up together. The secret sauce is in our ability to collaborate, and we have to show up for each other. This is only the beginning, and as Governor Cox mentioned, we will start with packages and parcels. We have the opportunity to be the world's first test site for non-revenue package delivery. The literal coming together of a supply chain is happening right in our backyard with air mobility, and eventually, we will create micro markets from conventional takeoff and landing aircraft. Imagine being in Moab in 40 minutes. Imagine living in Huntsville, Utah, or Logan, where I grew up, and being able to fly to Salt Lake in 16 minutes while still living in a beautiful Cache Valley or Ogden Valley. That's the reality, and it's here. So thank you to Kyle, thank you to the governor's office, and to UDOT, and to everyone else who's made this moment possible, including our board of directors at 47G. We're grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. And at this point, we'll go ahead and move forward with the Memorandum of Understanding signing, as well as letters of support from the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity and UDOT. Please.
take a while to read this all.
No, yeah. Did you proof it? Yeah, I'm gonna proof it. So Kyle, there will be 2 copies for you and I to sign. Wonderful. I have 3, 4. Yeah, 4 letters of support there. Yep. Yes, sir. Yeah, you don't know. I'll give you a copy. Or give me a copy. Pass these out. Thanks, Matt. Beautiful signature. Okay, we'll pass these down. You and Jim can each have a copy. Jim, why don't you pass these down? Thank you.
You can go like this.
That's right.
Okay, that was some excellent signing if I've ever seen it.
I'm keeping this pen. It's directly from the governor's office.
Awesome, Ken.
As I look at this picture behind us of these visionaries who constructed the state capitol, I bet what they were really thinking is, how long until we can get Beta Technologies to come to Utah? Thank you. We'd like to open it up for question and answers and then wrap up. Please.
Can you pay and get a test flight? I mean, we gotta know. Of course.
So you can pay and get a flight, but not a test flight.
Okay.
There will be flights, obviously, for passengers after the initiation of the package delivery flights. So we have both versions of the aircraft right now in production, moving into final FAA certification. There's a market survey ticket that we're flying on right now, where we're able to do charity flights and demo flights.
What's the timeline for all of this?
I'll take the first half of that question. Over the next 12 to 18 months, in partnership with UDOT, we're going to prioritize existing airports, municipal and regional, and we will determine the priorities based on need for charging infrastructure. The beautiful part about this is that we have very good aviation programs here in the state. In fact, 10% of the nation's helicopter pilots come out of SUU, which is kind of a fun statistic. Eventually, we'd like to have a charging station there for training purposes, and one at Aggie Air and one at UVU. But we do know that Ogden, Salt Lake, and Provo are high on that list.
Please.
What about other sites, for example, the Point or academic institutions, universities, or other business parks? Are those on the list?
Absolutely, and we know that the Point is an important priority for the state, and we want to support that. And so eventually, yes, we just had a study released today, actually through NEXA, and that's going to help give us information and data on where we should put these based on weather patterns, economic utilization, et cetera. So the Point is on there. This is all, phase 1 of Project Alta revolves around conventional takeoff and landing, right? That's utilizing existing infrastructure like airports. But urban air mobility, the movement of people and cities, that will all come eventually. And yes, we look forward to more sites.
I think it also should be noted that electrification of aircraft is not limited to small, purely electric aircraft. It extends to hybridization, hydrogen, larger aircraft. It's an entirely new field of aircraft. This just happens to be the entry point of a scale of aircraft that we're building today. But that will very quickly over time move into larger scale, different use cases. Aircraft are designed around missions, whether it's mountain rescue or moving packages or moving people. But the foundational technology, which is the real game changer here, gets adopted into so many different types of propulsion and applications that, we work with a lot of really good academic institutions that are already thinking 3, 5, 10, 20 years down the road as to how the economies of air travel, the quality of air travel, the safety of air travel all improve.
Please.
Could you touch on where autonomous flight fits into the sort of down the road vision?
Sure. So electrification, by its very nature, makes a self-aware aircraft. There's two parts of autonomy. You got to know your aircraft and all the systems on it to keep it safe, and you got to know your environment and all of the cooperative, non-cooperative, all the pieces to create autonomous flights. Electric aircraft, by their very nature, because they're digitally controlled, already have the former of that solved. So we've architected an aircraft that has 4 redundant plugs for the pilot controls that come in that can be replaced with a mission computer that would be the autonomous input to the aircraft. We've flown our aircrafts without pilots numerous times at various scales. It's not a big technological challenge. There's a lot of work to be done to ensure that it's safely integrated into the airspace, and some of the peripheral technologies are integrated appropriately. But again, just like to the other gentleman's question, it's a field that is ripe for the adoption of autonomy. And there's a lot of great companies. Look, Beta's a good company. It's my favorite one, happens to be, right? But there are tons of smart, hardworking people working through the night, putting everything they've got in their life's work into creating the autonomy technologies on top of electric aviation and other electric aviation companies. It's a fascinating time to be in aviation, and autonomy is one of the next steps.
And I'll add also that we understand that there's an element of community education that goes into this, because flying without a pilot on board is a new concept. When you think about traditional aircraft, it wasn't until Charles Lindbergh crossed the Atlantic that traditional aviation really took off. And I've said a couple times in the past, as I've spoken about advanced air mobility, is that advanced air mobility needs a Charles Lindbergh moment. And I think today is our Charles Lindbergh moment. And we're going to be talking to the communities, educating them on what advanced air mobility is and what it is not, so that as these aircraft come into production and come into use, that the communities will understand what it is and what it is not. And we understand that that's a critical part of being successful in advanced air mobility in Utah.
And I'd like to highlight too UDOT in the role that they've played. 47G is the second half of this marriage. We get to go out and in partnership with UDOT, we get to go evaluate OEMs and make recommendations to the state. But for years, UDOT has gone out and formed coalitions with other states. There's a multi-state collaborative, and Utah's leading that with 38 states. And in partnership with the FAA, we're submitting RFIs to talk about creating an urban airspace economy, an innovation ecosystem here. And so I just want to accentuate the fact that UDOT has done great work on this for years, and we wouldn't be here without them. Thank you.
One more question. Please.
How ready are we electric-wise to actually charge the planes that you mentioned? Like, how does that work? Are you going to shut down Midvale in order to charge the planes?
Midvale and Taylorsville. And Wayne Hart was really excited about it.
So just on the engineering side of this, each one of the charge cubes is about 1.5 times the power of like a Tesla supercharger. It goes at about twice the voltage of a Tesla supercharger. So about 350 kilowatts is what you're putting into the air. It's not too bad. However, what's interesting about this, and we've done this in numerous sites, including in Vermont, if there is a grid constraint, if distribution can't handle that impulse of power, we reuse the batteries out of the airplane to provide an arbitrage. So they sit on the ground and they charge, and then the DC to DC convert, exactly, you slosh the energy over. So it's a pretty light load on the grid. The last thing I'll say is that airplane right there has about 2,800 pounds of batteries on it, right? But because an electric motor is so wildly efficient compared to a turbine, where most of the energy goes out in heat, in fact, 70, 75% of it goes out in heat, It's equivalent to carrying 17 gallons of Jet A in 2,800 pounds of batteries. So you have to use that precious energy in a much more efficient way. So if you're thinking about pouring fuel into airplanes versus pouring electricity in an airplane, you just put a lot less energy in. That's one of the fundamental economic drivers of the entire system. So now we plug into the utility, and yeah, it's a lot of current, and it comes in kind of a...
It comes all in one shot.
It comes in one shot over the course of 30 or 40 minutes when you're recharging the airplane, but it's still not a large quantum of energy. It's about $15 of energy, by the way. That's an often question. If you were to fill up a Cessna 208, which is about
How
the...
many miles is that? How many miles per?
Yeah, so the longest we've flown is 336 nautical miles, so just under 400 statute miles, right, on one charge. And that cost us $17. Now, depending on the wind and all the other things, like it costs more or less, but it's really, really inexpensive. The energy component is.
Well, Kyle, I think we have our first buyer, so thank you.
I was just going to say, that means our tickets are going to be extremely low relative to
Yes. Well, thank you again for being here. The panelists are available for any questions following this. At 11 o'clock, we also have the Aerospace and Defense Day on the Hill here in the Rotunda, where we'll have more than 50 different I won't say vendors, but 50 different people showcasing their technologies, including, if I'm not mistaken, this Cube battery. Is that correct?
We will have the virtual reality simulator
Perfect.
chairs there, so please stop by and look at that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.